Hi everybody, I'm Ryan. Today we're going to talk about the new ban announcements in Magic the Gathering. Preordain is unbanned in Modern, and Mind's Desire is unbanned in Legacy. So this is a little surprising in a couple different ways, and I think the best way to go about this is to talk about each format individually. So I'm going to talk about what I expected to happen, read their announcement, and then I'm going to react to their announcement. We'll go in the order of the article, and the first part of the article is Modern. In Modern, I was expecting some amount of unbans because especially after Modern Horizons and Modern Horizons 2, the power level of Modern has gone up really dramatically, and there's a lot of kind of Mickey Mouse cards on the ban list that just don't compare with the power level of Modern now, or at least compare a little bit with the power level of Modern now. But I was expecting a One Ring ban, and I was expecting Grief to sort of be in the sights. The One Ring, I don't think is insanely powerful and crazy good and unbeatable. I don't think that's what this card is. I thought it was going to catch a ban for the same reason Smuggler's Copter caught a ban in Standard. It is a card that has no color restrictions. Not that Modern cares about that anyway, to be fair. That is stuffed into every deck that can manage it properly. Basically, any deck that isn't hyper aggro like Burn or has deck building restrictions like Creativity or something. Pretty much every other deck, it was correct to play the One Ring. And if a card is that widespread, it isn't really diverse between strategies, it is just played in every deck. Normally those cards are banned, like Smuggler's Copter was. That was the reason Smuggler's Copter was banned. It was just being played in every deck but the control deck, whether it was aggro, mid-range, or whatever. And that's why I thought the One Ring is going to catch a ban. I also thought Grief was in the sights because I don't think the Scam deck is ridiculous and unbeatable. But I do think there are certain hands that the Scam deck has that are just unfun. And generally, if a deck is good that is doing unfun things, Wizards likes banning cards in that deck. And Grief is a part of the unfun play pattern of that deck. Grief, Undying Thing, whatever. And so I thought Grief was going to catch a ban. But let's see what Wizards had to say. A lot has happened in Modern since our last Pro Tour level event, which took place in Barcelona 4 years ago. During that time, various strategies rose and fell, more changes were made to the ban and restriction lists, we released Modern Horizons 2, and Modern transformed into a more interactive format. Recently, our third set, with direct-to-modern legality in Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth, released to set the stage for the Pro Tour that occurred last weekend. Early buzz was that the One Ring, being a powerful, colorless artifact, was showing up in a lot of different decks, with Orcish Bowmasters picking up steam shortly after. When the metagame preview for the Pro Tour was showcased, it was initially concerning. While the metagame share of the decks is in normal ranges and is relatively diverse, the play rates of brand new cards in the One Ring and Orcish Bowmasters as the number 1 and number 2 cards, respectively, is something we rarely see in high-level Eternal tournaments. As we watched the tournament unfold, and after we had many conversations with players both competing in the Pro Tour as well as attending MagicCon Barcelona to play Modern, much of our concerns subsided. A variety of decks were performing well, and the games and interactions within those decks looked healthy. We saw some amazing matches over the weekend that were textured, interesting, and interactive. Still fair. While it is true that these cards made big waves at the Pro Tour, and within the format, these cards, the One Ring particularly, can fit into a variety of decks and a spread of macro archetype strategies to comfortably compete within the format without overshadowing everything else present in Modern. Games can be frequently decided by having the One Ring in play for multiple turns, but the bar for 4 mana seems to be too strong in a format as powerful as Modern is high. Not many games are quickly decided by a runaway from either the One Ring or Orcish Bowmasters, allowing players to play longer and interactive games with plenty of back and forth. I must have witnessed Urza Saga recruiting Haywire Might to take care of the One Ring about a dozen times, which begs the question, who is the real hero of the story? So this is a really long announcement, so I'm going to cut it in half right now and just kind of react to my first part. I think it's reasonable to say that the games in Modern are long and interactive and interesting and complex, and I think that's fair. And as long as those games are all very interactive and fun and cool, I kind of agree in a sense the One Ring is safe. The 4 mana is late in the game. There's no runaway situation that's happening, with a 4 mana card. Though I have noticed Scam hasn't been addressed yet, or Red Black Evoke or whatever, so let's see. That said, we aren't taking action against any cards from Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth today. We do want to be clear that these cards are on our radar, despite the healthy tournament results and there seemingly being plenty of wiggle room to explore further in the format during the upcoming regional championship qualifiers. The play rate of these cards are still high. We'll be monitoring the long-term fun of the One Ring's play pattern, especially given its ability to be looped and or reset to repeat its enter the battlefield ability. Similarly, Orcish Bowmasters has done a substantial amount of work to suppress 1 toughness creatures in the environment, to the point where Ragavan Nimble Pilfer isn't seeing much play in the format outside of Rakdos Evoke. So why are we unbanning Preordain? I guess I should have split it in half right there. So I agree with Orcish Bowmasters not needing to be banned, but like I feel like they're tunnel visioning here. Orcish Bowmasters is not the problem. It was just our awesome 2-drop for a deck that was already unfun. Grief is the problem, but all right. So why are we unbanning Preordain? While it is not something that we do often, we are interested in finding opportunities to reduce the size of modern ban lists, and we believe it will make a format more fun and provide players with more options. As I noted at the top, a lot has changed in the format the last 4 years, and even more since 2021 when Preordain was banned. Preordain and Ponder were originally banned due to the amount of consistency they added to powerful Izzet combo decks, Storm and Splinter Twin, which have both seen multiple bans since. There was a vision for making Modern a slightly slower format, where it was not so frequent that players were dying to their opponent's combination of cards within the first 4 turns of the game. On average, Modern is a lot more interactive now, in part due to the Modern Horizons sets. It was a goal of those releases to offer powerful options to stop your opponent's combos and play longer, more interactive games. As a result, we believe that Preordain will do more to boost fairer blue decks rather than simply increase the consistency of combo strategies. There is also part of a goal to give something back to blue-red Murktide, which is one of the most popular decks in the modern metagame between the release of Modern Horizons 2 and the Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth, but has since fallen out of favor partly due to the release of Orcish Bowmasters. I think it's like totally legitimate. You know, it was originally banned because of Splinter Twin and Storm, and Preordain I think is at or maybe slightly under the power level of Modern as it sits right now. It won't just fit into every blue deck. And I think that mid-rangey decks or tempo-y decks should have consistent hands like Murktide. And I also agree that, you know, this won't necessarily be making a combo deck insane, but there's no combo decks that I'm super worried about them playing it. So I like the unbanning of Preordain. But what does the unban of Preordain mean for Modern? Obviously, it's a big boost to Murktide. I think it could be played in creativity. I think the Death Shadow deck is a big winner because that was definitely needing some better card draw. Also, I think the blue-black Lord of the Rings deck could totally use a Preordain. I think, you know, this won't like make any strategy insane, but it'll make Modern more consistent and lead to more games, and I really like that. Pioneer. Going into Pioneer, I was expecting a Karn or Nykthos ban, and then maybe Fable the Mirror Breaker being in the sights. Karn or Nykthos ban, basically because, like, while Mono Green is really beatable, it is the best deck. It has stayed at the slot of the best deck, or at least high tier 2, for a really, really long time. And it's kind of an unfun play pattern to like be ahead in the game and your opponent combo and kill you. One of my friends, Zach, brought up the idea of banning Kiora, which would remove the combo kill without removing the cool parts of the deck in Nykthos and Karn, and like being able to toolbox with Karn. And I thought that was interesting. So I really thought one of those things was going to happen, just weaken it and make it so that Mono Green wasn't a combo deck. I also thought it's possible Fable was going to be in the sights. You know, the red-black decks have been at the top for a while, whether it was red-black mid-range or red-black sack. So it's a little, so I was expecting possibly a change there. So let's look at it. And a lot of decks are playing red for Fable and Mirror Breaker because it's that good. So. The Pioneer metagame continues to have a wide spread of playstyles and archetype representation from tournament to tournament. While there are known pillars of mono green, Rakdos variants, and creature-centric aggro decks, their metagame shares rise and fall at a healthy clip. Recently, new versions of Lotus Field Control have gotten some extra attention, but its win rate and metagame share sit about where we would expect for any reasonable deck to fall. Without a clear top dog or unanswerable archetype pushing out other decks, we've elected for no change at this time. I mean, there are like top 8s that are totally green or totally green and red-black or whatever, but I think overall that's probably fair. They have access to a ridiculous amount of data, and as long as this decision is data-driven, I'm okay with it. But I would still like to be looking at green. Legacy, I wasn't expecting much in Legacy. Legacy felt really, really healthy, but I do like the idea of looking for unbans, so let's check this out. Magic has a rich and storied history, including the fastest banned cards in the history of the game, Mind's Desire. At the time of its release, Magic's threats far outweighed the power of its answers, and creatures were a much, much smaller portion of Legacy, or Type 1.5 metagame. A lot has changed. 2 decades have passed since Mind's Desire was banned, and in that time, creatures have become more powerful. New Planeswalker cards have been introduced, and there are multiple cycles of free spells that have made it much harder to be a lover of the Storm mechanic. In the interest of making sure the combo players also get the same level of new content and strength that other archetypes incidentally gain through the tentpole offering, we decided to unban Mind's Desire and Legacy. Outside the spell's combo presence, the Legacy metagame is still evolving with the release of Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth. Orcish Bowmasters is making a huge splash in the metagame thus far, punishing cheap card draw spells that have been historically omnipresent throughout the format. Up until now, many of the decks that Mind's Desire punishes appear to be adapting while leaving additional space for previously underrepresented archetypes to shine. We will continue watching how things adapt in the coming months, but don't feel a need to ban anything at this time. I agree with no bannings. Totally okay with that. We can move on from that conversation. Mind's Desire being unbanned is kind of crazy. Like, Mind's Desire is an insane combo card, and I think they are overestimating the ability of Orcish Bowmasters to punish card draw. I think the combo decks don't care about Orcish Bowmasters. I think the combo decks are going to like do some here, there, some there, and then just combo you and just do not care that Orcish Bowmaster is going to be dealing one to them here and there. And so once people find a good shell for this, Mind's Desire is going to be nuts. That's what I'm calling. I think it's possible they messed up with this unban. It's pretty crazy. Vintage feels healthy as Vintage can be. I'm a Bizarre aggro player, and I haven't been worried about really anything. The One Ring had been present here and there as like a tinker target and stuff like that, but like I'm not worried about the One Ring being a crazy tinker target. Like, it's fine. Finally, Vintage players have been given a new tool recently in form of the One Ring. Oh, there we go. But we don't believe it's necessary to take any action against it at this point. Despite it having some of the baggage that many powerful archetypes do in the format, we believe that players are still exploring its potential in the format and would like to see where it settles. Urza Saga has also cemented itself as a powerhouse in these decks, but we are generally happy with the portions of the metagame they occupy, relative to decks like Doomsday, Mono-White Initiative, and Fair Blue archetypes. We'll be keeping an eye on the aforementioned cards as the format evolves, but the success of decks without either card communicates that there isn't any deck yet. I totally agree. You know, there are plenty of decks that you don't need to play the One Ring in Urza Saga and win. But those are my thoughts on the bannings and the announcements themselves. I just wanted to do a video here or there because this is big news. Mostly not banning anything in any format is the big news overall. Overall, I'm kind of okay with the modern situation, especially the idea that the decks that play the One Ring are interactive and fun. I think I agree with that. Orcish Bowmasters, I agree, does not need to be unbanned, but something in Rakdos Evoke should be looked at, especially if you look at like challenge results. And I feel similar ways about the mono green stuff. Legacy getting an unbanned in Mind's Desire is going to break it. I'm confident. And yeah. If you like this video and want to see more videos like this, please be sure to like and subscribe. Check me out on social medias. Links are above me and in the description. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.